Court now in session. The state defense may motion or suppress or dismiss any new evidence.
Judging by the evidence that I'm seeing on Discord and the pictures, we definitely agree with the evidence that's been presented. We'd like to utilize, and we've added some evidence as well as far as photographic.
I have an objection. Will, you would like to object here?
He's trying to add things to, and we haven't been able to have proper time to get a look at those yet, unfortunately. So yeah, we do need to object.
They were added simultaneously within 3 minutes of you adding them. Please take time to review.
All right. Jury of our peers on the Chopping Block podcast have been selected as a non-biased or diverse jury to create a fair and just trial for all parties involved. Following charges for Mr. Kevin Long are as follows: conspiracy, treason, bestiality, trademark infringement, trespassing, petty shoplifting, pyramid scheme, identity theft, and indecent exposure.
Yeah, really?
The charges have been amended by the state to be treason, fraud, identity theft, and cyberbullying. You may begin with your opening statements.
As a prosecutor, I have been called here to question what has now become very apparent to me as a blatant disrespect for not only the University of Georgia and our alumni, but the city of Athens, as it has been discovered that quote-unquote Georgia fan, Mr. Long, who I believe the evidence will support has a tattoo of the arches of the University of Georgia on his chest, has not only been seen wearing University of Florida gear, he's also been accused of cheering for. We have witnesses to support that. He is also, well, I guess the best way to put this, and I'm not sure how the court would like to approach it, but it's just been general excuses of this being acceptable behavior, and the people of Athens just won't stand behind it. The arches of the university stand for wisdom, justice, and moderation, and we feel like this is a far cry from moderate supporting of the SEC and other teams. No matter the location that you're at, you're either a dog or you're not, and we're here to prove that that's a fact. So we would like to continue through the trial. However, it kind of stands in front of you, and I don't think that there's much really in question here. It seems pretty cut and dry. We do believe that as a result of all of these offenses that will be outlined throughout this trial via witnesses and be supported by their testimony, that we should have an official ban of Mr. Long from the University of Georgia town, Athens, Georgia, officially immediately. I don't see any reason for him to return. The Gators or whoever he wants to cheer for in the Pac-10 or whatever you want to do, man, do it. Just don't do it in Athens. We want nothing of it. So that's all I have.
Defense?
Yeah, so what we have here today is an assault against healthy local business practices by the blind pursuit of tradition of a bygone era. This witch hunt has no more basis than subjective conjecture and, sadly, the hurt pride of has-been or never was college athletes and college football. My client has done nothing more than hedge his business bets in a local market with a majority demographic are Gator fans. Did my client wear Florida Gator for paraphernalia?
Objection.
Can I please finish my statement?
Yeah, we can't object her, and just trust me, they're going off. I'm just sitting on my side. Excuse me.
Did my client wear Florida Gator paraphernalia? Absolutely. Is my client a lifetime UGA fan? We provided evidence, and there's been evidence showing that there is Florida Gator paraphernalia. Where boundaries cross is purely relative at best. What's more concerning is the potential loss of revenue, social circle distortion, mental health impact of this social turbulence, and potential local business market dissolution for my client's business in Gainesville. Given the negative attention this received, my client is in fact the victim. You will find no concrete or damning evidence will be provided today. No confirmed verbal conversations, no written communication, or no personally backed statements given this that my client is a turncoat fan. However, you will see my client out of the state of Georgia and out of the presence of UGA football being played in Florida Gator suggestive attire. These are personal compromises made on behalf of spousal support and future business success. I will leave you with a question of, what actions would you take to help ensure your small business's local success? Would you embrace the local enterprise with no harm other than armchair quarterbacks and coach couch's pride? Or would you forego the projected elevated success of your personal financial and well being because of peer pressure from dead people, also known as tradition? My client is a UGA fan that moonlights as a supportive spouse and a Florida businessman.
The state will now present their case against Kevin Long.
The state would like to call a witness, Mr. Jay Worthy.
Oh, come forward, Mr. Worthy.
Jay, are you available? You ready?
Yes, sir.
Jay, I'm going to go ahead and just let us start here with you outlining the situation, outlining what happened. You are in front of a court of law here, so make sure that we're keeping everything between us true and factual and actual. And so we look forward to hearing your detail here. So please just provide that, just a breakdown of these situations.
Yeah, it started last year. I believe I remember.
Would this have been on September the 24th of 2022?
Yeah, sorry, it's just murky waters. I don't like remembering it, but we had a really nice house picked out on the lake. Me, Kevin's dad, his lovely wife. We went up there to watch the Tennessee Florida game, and had a nice little Friday. Had some drinks out on the deck. Everything's all well and good. And then Saturday morning rolls around and I wake up and I walk downstairs. And
you walked upstairs?
I walked upstairs. That's right.
Objection, leading.
Thank you for the recollection. Your client led me.
You may continue, Mr. Worthy.
I did. No, yeah, Kevin's right. I did walk upstairs. And when he turned around, I couldn't believe my eyes. I saw a Georgia fan wearing a Florida shirt. Nice, pressed, long sleeve, collared, button up shirt with a Florida symbol on the left nipple. Right if I'm looking at it. I had I think there's some pictures out there, but it was just the F with Florida. And I said, what are you doing with that on? And he said that first he said, I'm supporting my wife. And I said, you could support her with a white polo. You're a Georgia fan. And he continued wearing it. That's the first time.
And at that time, Mr. Worthy, was it ever mentioned any sort of local business, reputation, these type of things being from his Gainesville local business transferred to Knoxville for some reason to continue to keep up this facade, if you will, of being a fan and supportive spouse?
Well, I think in all respect to Mr. Long, he at that point he was just saying he was supporting his wife, not his business. But he did make mention of the reason he did have that shirt was because of business relationships in Gainesville. I then said I'm a Tennessee fan in a Georgia Red Sea and have been my whole life and have never done that myself in my business.
Mr. Worthy, have you found it difficult to do business as a Tennessee fan?
No.
In Atlanta, Georgia, with such a population of Georgia and Georgia Tech. Kennesaw State is now in the area. Do you feel like you need to, wear those teams when you're in those places?
Forgot about the Owls. No, and my wife went to KSU, and I've never worn a Owls shirt.
Would you like to speak here to the second incident? I believe we have. Do we have some evidence that we'd like to bring up? More to the September 16th, 2023. So more recently, have we had any other incidents, Mr. Worthy?
Yes, he had called me, and he was at the Tennessee Florida game wearing a different shirt. I believe this one was a polo, not a long sleeve button up.
It was still a $100 shirt.
Freshly pressed shirt. It could have been a $3 shirt, sir. I wouldn't have
It
cared.
was a Peter Millar.
I wouldn't have cared. It had those ugly colors and that ugly letter on it, and that's all that mattered to me. No,
Are you
to
aware
answer your question,
of any body modifications that have been made by Mr. Long?
he has a tattoo.
And what is that tattoo of?
It's of the arches, the Georgia arches, right across the street from the quad.
And have you ever spoken to him directly about the meaning behind that tattoo for him?
I believe so.
Do you recall what those statements that he made were?
Blatant disregard for tradition, I think.
Well, it's not moderate. I'll tell you that.
Suggested.
With this, I think I rest with my witness.
Defense would like to pick up from here.
All right,
So-
defense will present their case. Come on.
Basically, on your recollection of events, it seems like Mr. Long kind of corrected you. So, would you say that his recollection of events were superior to what you had going on, even in that house in Tennessee?
I do not recollect.
Okay, so you don't recollect these circumstances very clearly. Is that what you're saying?
Objection, hearsay.
Stand.
Okay, let me rephrase. So both of these instances, Tennessee was playing Florida. Would you say that you are yourself a Florida Gators fan, or is there a clear disdain for the Florida Gators?
Absolutely. There's definitely a clear disdain for Florida Gators. Yes, for sure. On my
In
side.
both of these instances, they were playing Tennessee. Is that correct?
That's a fact.
So this one kind of stung a little bit extra.
Objection, badgering the witness.
Not badgering the witness.
Sustained.
That don't. Yes, that's fine. So, in your recollection of the event, they were playing the University of Tennessee, and there is a bit of a rivalry there. Would you say that Tennessee and Georgia are a bigger rivalry, or would you say us in Alabama or Tennessee are a bigger rivalry?
I would say that Tennessee and Alabama and the Florida and Georgia rivalry are equal rivalries, but probably more so the Georgia-Florida game because of the win-loss difference is less. I mean, Tennessee just won the first game out of 20 years. That's not a big rivalry there. Georgia and Florida have gone back and forth, so which I would say in the last 20 years that is a bigger rivalry. Yes, Esquire.
And Georgia wasn't present playing at this time. Is that correct? Were you
They
in a
were
state
playing
that Georgia
for sure.
was playing?
They were playing that day, I'm sure.
Sure they were. I'm sure they were as well. But were they in the state of either one of these
They
events?
could have been playing Vanderbilt, yeah. I don't know, or Middle Tennessee.
Do we have factual evidence on that?
We don't.
Okay. So assuming, given the schedule, the likelihood of them being in the state of Tennessee or the state of Florida is unlikely.
Yes.
Let's say 1 in 14.
Objection, speculation.
Sustained.
That is actually statistics, not speculation. That is mathematical facts. Okay, given your recollections on events, so you were genuinely hurt as a Tennessee fan. It's somewhat,
No.
I don't know,
No,
malicious. I would think.
No,
I mean, could
I
that
wasn't.
be a malicious
Mm-mm.
intent? Seeing that twice, I mean, maybe the first time you could deal with it, but the second time you kind of thought you might went off the rails a little bit.
No,
Don't you think?
I was offended as a SEC fan, not as a Tennessee fan.
And you brought this. You guys are pals, is that correct? Or were pals?
Long life buddies.
Long life buddies.
Mm-hmm.
And you called this man out onto the carpet.
I had to, man.
Completely
I
as a
felt
good
like-
pal would, right?
Felt like I needed
But
to.
in that second circumstance, do you feel like you were more betrayed and a little bit more malicious and possibly vindictive and wanted to call to arms this erroneous case? And I mean, this is all based off of your recollection.
Well,
that,
that's a
I
two-parted
mean,
question.
honestly
I can
seems to be a
answer.
little bit impaired, Mr. Worthy.
That was two questions, and I'll answer both of them. Was I mad that he gets to rag me for, or Tennessee fans in general, for the Florida game versus Tennessee and Georgia game? Yeah, of course, but that doesn't mean I'm wrong either.
So we said back, kind of how he leans on Florida Gator boosters, his in-law family. And as we know, you're a successful business person in your own right. And you are definitely more sales inclined, though Mr. Long is very sales inclined as well. But the dominancy of what you do is you sell yourself, right? And you are not in the services industry. I mean, credit card services industry. With that, how does that parallel run to actual physical needs like plumbing?
I would say that they are absolutely parallel. In fact, I would say my clients need lifelong service on a weekly and daily basis, where if he goes in there and does it, he might not talk to them for a year or two. We talk to our clients way more consistently. And unfortunately, I built a team that answer those calls, but I trained them in the first place, so I've done it too.
That's wonderful. So let me get this right. Would you go on record saying that you would never wear another university's paraphernalia ever?
Objection, relevance.
Continue, defense.
He potentially has a D1 athlete that wants nothing more in this life to be a gym dog, from what I understand. And I've also heard Mr. Worthy say that he would, in fact, support his daughter like Mr. Long supports his wife and wear the paraphernalia.
Are we talking about like precognition here? We're talking about future telling? Is that what we're talking about?
We're talking about,
because if we're talking about voodoo, if we're talking about voodoo and future telling, then hell, let's get on board. Read a fucking book. You know what I mean? Ooh.
Just relax, Mr. Worthy. I believe this is an objection of leading the witness.
To answer your question, I've never worn another uniform of another team that I did not like.
Are you willing to go on record that you will never wear another uniform of another team?
I don't know what I'm going to do tomorrow, sir. I might start kissing boys tomorrow, but today I have no need to do that. But you never know. I'm only 43. I got plenty of time.
God, Jay seems like he's a little frazzled there. What's wrong, buddy?
Shut up for the gallery.
Shut your mouth when you're talking to me.
So obviously we've touched a nerve, and we're not going to lead the witness any further down that path. I think we have a good bird's eye view of kind of the hypocrisy that's going on here and the vindictive nature in which these charges were drawn. Defense rests on this witness.
Oh, yeah, your client's already fleeing.
State does not have any more witnesses.
Defense only has one witness on record, which is Mr. Worthy.
You're not going to put your client on the stand?
You know what? My client will absolutely go on the stand. Mr. Long, please go ahead, if you would like.
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Long, how long have you been a UGA fan?
From my recollection, as far back as I can remember, about a party with my dad, and they were young. I was probably about 3 years old, watching Georgia football.
You seem to mention your dad a lot when you talk about. Is your dad a fan of any college football team?
He is. He's a University of Tennessee fan.
And why is Mr. Long, I presume, a fan of University of Tennessee?
His older brother, Tom, which was much older than him, as a kid, he moved to Nashville. And Dad got to go visit him in Tennessee, and he became a huge UT fan. He wanted to move up there, wanted to go to the university. He got a partial baseball scholarship to play there, but my grandfather said, no, we can't afford it. So he had to go to a junior college in West Georgia to play baseball. But he remained a Tennessee fan all those years.
Understood. And you've known Mr. Worthy
20 plus years.
20 plus years, correct? And do you know his legacy on University of Tennessee football?
I believe it's because his father attended there. Well, guess where he had his law degree?
He got his law degree from Woodrow Wilson. But I think his grandfather went there as well. So your dad didn't attend the University of Tennessee, yet he's a fan, right?
Correct.
You didn't attend the University of Georgia, yet you're a fan, correct?
That's correct.
So in the longevity of you being a fan, you've lived in Florida 6 to 8 years now. Is that correct? 13. Wow. Over a decade. And before you were married, how did you feel about the Florida Gators?
No, I had despised them.
And what was the evolution of that process? Kind of walk me through and paint a picture of how we have found this situation that we have ourselves in currently.
Some of you don't know my in-laws or much about them, but basically for 4.5 years of courting my wife, if you will, it was a very difficult time to show them my character, basically. Since we were married, I was told that if they were not playing Georgia, in order to be in their family, I would have to wear or support the Florida Gators. And I didn't for the first few years.
No backbone. No backbone.
I wore a University of Georgia shirt to the opener of Utah 2 years ago.
Mr. Worthy, I'm going to request contempt. There's another outburst from you. Initially, this was a familial bond, is what you're saying. Mm-hmm. And you wanted some buy-in. You wanted this lady's hand in marriage, I assume?
Absolutely. Okay.
So fast forward. You're working in the state of Florida. You're working as a GM. While you were at the previous Mr. Reuter, was there any notation of you being any type of Florida fan?
No, absolutely not.
Okay. So this evolution recently happened in the last 2 years, let's say.
That's correct. After I opened business in Gainesville.
That leads me to my next question. What is another major event that's happened in your life in the last 24 months?
Car wreck?
No, We'll get to that. Yeah, you opening a business, is that correct?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. It's been going on for 3, but I've been down here a year and a half.
Where is this
Years.
business centrally located?
Gainesville.
Gainesville. And the Gators are out of Gainesville, is that correct?
That is correct.
And in local business practices, what are some marketing practices that you feel are successful
There we
to
go.
perpetuate your business?
We are local supporters at 4 golf courses for T-box ads, sign ads. I'm on the Gator football program with a logo. I'm on the Gator basketball and baseball programs with a logo. We took over 4 of the 12 season tickets, so Mr. Reuter pays for 4 of those, supporting the Gators, which honestly, once I started doing all these things and people knew that we supported the community and the Gators and whatnot, I realized that we were getting a lot more phone calls and the business was really picking up. So yeah, that's the main reason. I support the University of Florida because I'm purchasing 4 tickets through my business to help the community, help the football team. And I'm not a Florida fan. I support the community and the Gators.
So when events happen and you have these marketing strategies in place,
Mhm.
it goes hand in hand to wear this paraphernalia, so to speak.
Oh yeah. I had to change the tag on the front of my truck to do the tailgates because how tacky would it look if I showed up with the bright Georgia plate that I have, but I'm a Gator booster, so they send us these plates, so I just do that at the tailgate. I wear Mr. Reuter clothing. We're going to get an actual Mr. Reuter logo with the Gator logo on it. That way, people even know in the stadium. I'm about money, man.
And most people are for that. If your business were in Athens, do you think this would be any different?
Oh, it would be completely different.
Would it be? Would the Florida Gators be prevalent whatsoever?
Yeah, if we lived in Athens,
He's
we would
still
still have to come to
talking?
Gainesville to see her family. They're generations from here. Great grandparents. So yeah, I would have to come to Florida games.
But if you did not, so if you had to go to Florida games, would you lived in Athens, your business was based out of Athens, hypothetically, would you be pouring money into the Florida Gators program? Do you think you would hold those season tickets if you weren't so close?
Absolutely. Yeah, we would have to because we're not giving up seats that the families had for 60 plus years.
So it's a legacy.
It is.
So we have legacy, business practices, and spousal support. Was that a good summarization?
Yeah, 100%.
State, you got anything?
Yes. Just let my assistant's buzzing me here. Give me a moment. Let's start with this. So you said you've been a fan since 3 years old. We've referenced the arches that are on your chest. When did you get those?
That tattoo was done in 2013. Yeah, 2013.
So roughly 10 years ago.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you've been in Gainesville for how long?
13 years. 12 to
So
13.
you were a resident of Gainesville when you originally got this tattoo.
No, I was living in Tallahassee at the time.
Tallahassee.
Correct. When I first moved here, I lived in Tallahassee.
And what was the purpose of that tattoo for you?
Everybody was always getting the traditional Super G or, the football helmet. And you always see that or the mascot, depending on if it's the vintage or the new. And I just wanted to be unique. The arches felt for me as a kid getting to go through those to the games with my dad and whatnot. One day it just hit me. It was like, I'm going to get this tattoo that I've never seen on anybody else. Plus, it also has the year the university was established under the arches.
It is in fact unique what we are experiencing here. That is true. Now, have you considered any other tattoos for any other universities, organizations?
No. And I have 4 or 5 tattoos, but that's the only university.
Okay. So maybe it's worth getting a little deeper into what you consider the difference between support and a fan, because you've made a couple of statements that you support the University of Florida, you purchase tickets, but you're not a fan, right? And so kind of walk us through that, because you've said you literally change out the plates on your car depending on the tailgate. I have a couple more questions there, but just for us, a snapshot of what's the difference between a supporting versus a fan.
When I'm there at the games and I'm acting like I'm cheering, in the back of my mind, I'm hoping they lose. I just don't tell my wife that. So please edit that out.
No, don't.
That's 100% what I do every game. But Jay said, the other witness said that I've gator chopped. I have never gator chopped at a game. That is erroneous.
I don't have any evidence to support the gator chop. That is witness statement. Back to the business practices, and we do appreciate you clarifying that difference of supporting a fan, and that does seem like a very defined line. So by changing out from a UGA to a UF plate at your tailgates, does that not lead to distrust, right? Like, which is also that lack of, honestly, the University of Georgia's mentality towards you right now, that lack of distrust, trying to figure out where that line is, right? Like, so you're one way all week, and then on Saturdays you're UF, or you're UF in front of the people you work for with a Georgia tag. We're just trying to articulate.
So the tag thing, I was not going to change it. And then my wife had to explain to me that we're Gator boosters. We pay for these tickets. How tacky would it look for you to pull up with a Georgia tag on this tailgate? And it's a massive tailgate.
I mean, have
then
you
she goes,
found
"What
it
is going
difficult
to use
as
your
a
truck?"
national champion to hide that? It seems that you're hiding. You're having to hide.
No, so even in the one picture that you can't see, where I'm in the polo in the stands from this year, 2023, the hat that I'm wearing is actually this one on backwards.
Interesting.
It's in the picture.
Suspect. Oh my God.
Just zoom in on this right. Georgia Super G right there, buddy.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem super to me.
2 back-to-backs, looking for 3.
Oh, now he's bragging.
Always.
Georgia.
Do you also brag about the Tim Tebow era, Mr. Long?
No, but I thought that Netflix documentary from that era was amazing, and I do think that Tim Tebow is an amazing human being, a great Christian, and a hell of an athlete.
The Netflix documentary is not on trial here. However, we all have our own opinions. Let's just put it that way. There was a lot left out. Aaron Hernandez. So anyway.
That's what I told my buddies. I was like, guess who wasn't on it?
Well, it just kind of leads to what it seems like down there. It's just a lot of fake news coming out of Gainesville. I don't know. It feels like they want individuals to support them, but not be fans. It's a community of individuals who.
Sounds like modern day media.
I can't speak for the athletic director or anybody else that's affiliated with the University of Florida on what their idea of a fan or support is. I can only tell you what I do for the community and how I feel.
Fair enough. I rest with the witness. And no more further questions. I'll say it that way.
The state may now present their closing arguments. Defense after the state.
All right. We'll keep this really short and sweet. There's no doubt that it takes some commitment to get a chest tattoo, a tattoo of any kind, right? And especially something that is in support of a university. Now, as far as it comes to with love or courtship, there's always going to be some questionable areas. We all make sacrifices. One could think that even cheering for what you might think of as your main rival would be a sacrifice of love. Unfortunately, we're talking about college football in the South, and there's just some definitive lines that have to be drawn here. It's one thing to wear a team's color potentially. If you really want to wear an orange and a blue or whatnot on a Saturday in Gainesville, the greater body of Athens, the alumni base of the University of Georgia, we can see that from a supporting standpoint. Now, when you go and you purchase a $100 or more shirt with the logo on it, it seems like you're taking a step beyond support and becoming a fan. And I think one of our biggest fears here is that we could see basically just some crossing of a Georgia tattoo with a UF tattoo. And I mean, you do have a full open pectoral, and that guy is going to get filled up in the name of business, right? It's supporting your wife and your business.
Speculation.
Overruled.
These are the things that we're in fear of. At one point there was actually a fence around the University of Georgia, and people went through the arches because they couldn't get over the fence. As a result of everything that we've seen, we are considering putting a fence back around the University of Georgia to keep individuals from being supportive fans that want to just jump lines back and forth. Ultimately, what we've showcased here is that it is without a doubt unacceptable to wear UF gear, no matter what the circumstance is, while having a tattoo of another university within not only the same conference, but well, I'm saying, I mean, we're rivals, right? So we are calling for the ban of Mr. Long from Athens and for his ability to attend University of Georgia games on campus. If he wants to support us, that's fine, but he can do it from the TV, from the comfort of his own home. That's all. I rest my case.
So, in our closing argument, I would like to embrace the three pillars of the University of Georgia. And those pillars were mentioned as wisdom, justice, and moderation. And I'd like to start with moderation given the last sentence that he just said. Moderation is the avoidance of excess extremes. And I believe that giving the case here, that this would be an excess extreme on the pillar of the University of Georgia of banning him from any games, any home games, or any paraphernalia, period. It's excessive, right? Wisdom is another one. And having wisdom means to have foresight, and that means to be savvy. And I believe that Mr. Long has showed wisdom in his business advancement by embracing his local community and championing that when he is in Haynesville or in Tennessee, never in Georgia, never under or near the arches or between the hedges or whatever the case may be. The only thing that's missing here is pure justice. And justice is being negated by the excess charges, excessiveness, and the lack of modernization that the university is showing, or the people speaking on the behalf of the university is being extreme. So it looks like that we're not practicing our own pillars and hosting the University of Georgia at the same time. So unless you're going to uphold those pillars, I don't foresee anybody being able to manage anyone else's judgment that is not upholding what they value the most. I rest my case.
The jury will now be given time to deliberate the verdict and evidence provided and sentence. Vote will be anonymous.
Ladies and gentlemen of the court, Your Honor, we, the jury, have reached a verdict in the case of the Pupils versus Blevin Kong. On the charge of conspiracy, we find the defendant guilty. On the charge of treason, we find the defendant not guilty. On the charge of bestiality, we find the defendant not guilty. On the charge of trademark infringement, we find the defendant not guilty. On the charge of trespassing, we find the defendant not guilty. On the charge of petty shoplifting, we find the defendant not guilty. On the charge of identity theft, we find the defendant not guilty. On the charge of indecent exposure, we find the defendant not guilty. On the charge of fraud, we find the defendant guilty. On the charge of cyberbullying, we find the defendant not guilty. On the charge of solicitation, we find the defendant not guilty. On the charge of disturbing the peace, we find the defendant guilty.